So we're doing a little bit of a garden planter box thing. So you see over here where we've got the planter box back out here? Now that's kind of a built-in. This used to be, I think, for a spa or jacuzzi or something. And they had like a little planter in there. Well, we want to do some gardening, but we want to have a little bit more space. So what we're doing is right here, kind of in this section, we're going to have a 6 foot long, 2 foot wide planter box. It's going to be about the same height as that, and then it's going to turn and it's going to come out this way 6 feet. So it's going to be in the shape of kind of an L, or a little bit of an angle. Make sense? Yeah, L for luau. So there you go. We're going to make that. Right now we're going to cut our beams, these big 4x4s, and then we're going to start attaching the long 2x6s to it. Make sense? Right on. Here we go. One thing I forgot to mention is that you want to make sure you get straight 2x6s. So when you're at Home Depot or whatever lumber supply place, make sure you check that they're straight. So what we're going to do is first thing we're going to do is these are the 3 pieces that we like the look of the front of them the best, like this. And so we're going to take these and we're going to cut them on each end at a 45. And so we get like a nice miter on each end. Sound good? Let's do it. So you don't have to miter the ends. The reason why I mitered the ends, we wanted that look that it just has a nice clean look. If you don't miter them, then you're gonna see the end grain of each of the 2x6s. That's the main difference. As you see us here cutting and working on that thing, I know it's a little bit confusing, but this little corner that we're working on is actually upside down right here. We turn it over here, and it's still upside down here. That, as soon as we are done here putting on these 2 pieces, we're going to screw it together and flip it over. You also notice that when we put on those screws, I measure the just from the edge and then from either side, so that all of our screws are in the same locations. It just looks clean. You have a nice straight line of screws when you're done. And those are deck screws also. We use deck screws. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're meant for keeping boards together. So that's good. Okay, so here's where we turn it all over. Notice that little gap that's at the bottom? All the way around. You can see it on the far side behind my dad there. That gap is so that water can kind of seep out from under it. So my dad's got his gloves on there. He's got to be, you know what I mean, you got to have your gloves on. That makes sense. I mean, come on, you got to have gloves. So we kind of finished it up and we started working on the top. And this was where I knew that the miters were going to be really visible, and so we took a little extra time. Things weren't all exactly at 45 degrees. We had to shave off a little bit. It's almost like a person doing a picture frame. You gotta kind of spend your time and make it right, and so we did that. So it was just something that we had to be extra cautious. Also notice the top there, I tried to line up, see that grain, that kind of blonde grain going around the top there. If you have different boards, just trying to line them up so it looks like you actually paid attention when you put them on top. So here we are, just about ready to finish. We're doing the last piece here. I'm super excited. Now I didn't screw down that piece right there on my right, because you want to make sure everything lines up. You can shift it a little bit to the left, right, make sure those miters line up, and then went ahead and drilled in to the 4x4 on the top. And then screwed it in. So once we finish that off, then we're done, and we're super excited. Woo! Okay, so as you can see, we went ahead and got our outdoor planter garden thing. It's a above ground planter box, and we're gonna put garden box actually. We're gonna go ahead and put some mulch in there. First we're gonna layer it with some weed cloth, and then we're gonna put rocks in it, some pea gravel, and then we're gonna, on top of that, we're gonna put some mulch and some just planter soil basically. And hopefully that should bring it up to you know, just a little bit lower than the top of that that shelf there. So watch us as we finish it off, and hopefully we can be planting stuff later on this weekend. Okay, so this weed cloth we're using, the only reason we used it really, and the rock underneath it or on top of it, is because we didn't want, once we put our soil in, our planter soil, we didn't want the mud, once it rained, to kind of seep out the bottom, and you see these like little mud streaks out the gap at the bottom of our planter box. So we put this down, we put rock, that pea gravel, you'll see it in a second, there it is. We put that down on top of it just to kind of keep the, try and keep the soil in place. Make sense? Of course it does. It's brilliant. The internets are a wonderful thing. You can find out all this information. Notice the different size gravel. See, that's a little smaller? Yeah, it was in the same bag, marked exactly the same. Go figure. It's like, hey, here's pea gravel, and then they give you like, you know, larger size rocks. Not that big of a deal. For what we wanted it for, wasn't that big of a deal. If we were doing some sort of like, you know, rock garden, I would have been upset. We would have thrown a fit, you know, gone crazy. Maybe not. Anyhow. All right, so first we're going to, this right here is garden soil. I thought it was kind of cool. It's this company that was started by a couple people out of their dorm room. They decided, hey, where does all this waste go? And they were in the college cafeteria, all this food waste that people don't eat, throw out. And they started a company that actually recycles those scraps and is really good for vegetable gardens or flower beds or whatever. So we're going to take some of that, and then we're also going to mix it up with a raised bed garden or potting soil mix. And we're going to kind of use both in here and spread them around and see what we get. So there you have it, a planter, above ground planter with some soil, and we ended up putting 5 different plants in there, and probably could have got maybe one more, but we wanted each of them to have plenty of space. I got different fruit or different vegetables in there. So once we start seeing actual fruit on it, we'll show you kind of a follow-up, but it turned out pretty good. The whole project, start to finish, I think was 2 days of construction. It's probably about 15 hours total, maybe closer to 12. So not too bad. And I think overall cost was about $300, maybe $350.